This section is on the slopes of lines. A slope is a measure of how fast a line goes up or down. Know that a slope is a ratio. What you're doing is you are measuring the vertical change in the line and placing that over the horizontal change in the line. That's usually referred to as rise over run. The slope formula is m, which is the letter we use to denote the slope, equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. What you will learn. You will learn how to find the slopes of lines when given 2 points and how to find the slopes of horizontal lines. You will learn why a vertical line has no slope. You will also learn how the size of the slope is related to the graph of the line and how to find missing variables by using the slope formula. In general, there will be 3 things you need to know to find the slope. You can find the slope if you are given 2 ordered pairs. You simply substitute into the slope formula. You will also be able to find the slope given the graph of a line. What you will do is read the graph and determine the coordinates of 2 points. You may either substitute into the slope formula or you may determine the slope visually by counting up and over. We'll discuss more about that later in this section. What you also need to know is that if you are given a point and an intercept, you are really being given 2 points. For example, suppose you are told that a slope has a line 2, 3 and a y-intercept of 4. Because the x-coordinate of a y-intercept is always 0, you are being given the point 0, 4. Just as a hint, it may help to label the coordinates before substituting into the slope formula. For example, if we're given the points -3, 2 and 5, 4, underneath in pencil we've labeled -3 as x sub 1 and 2 as y sub 1. We've labeled 5 as x sub 2 and 4 as y sub 2. We could have reversed that and said that -3, 2 was x sub 2 and y sub 2 and 5, 4 was x sub 1, y sub 1. The order in which you label the points doesn't really matter as long as you substitute into the slope formula correctly. In my years of teaching, I've often found that students who just couldn't quite seem to master the concept of slope did better if they labeled the points that way. In example 1, we're given 2 lines, L sub 1 and L sub 2. L sub 1 contains the points 0, 2, and -1, 0. Substituting into the slope formula gives m equals 0 minus 2 over -1 minus 0, which is -2 over -1, which equals 2. Line L sub 2 contains the points 0, 0, and 2, 1. If we substitute into the slope formula, m equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1, we get 1 minus 0 over 2 minus 0 equals 1/2. Notice that line L sub 1 has a larger slope, which is 2, than line L sub 2, which has a slope of 1/2. Notice also that line L sub 1 is steeper, or it goes up faster, than line L sub 2. The greater the slope, the steeper your line will be. Let's look at the graph of the line below, and let's find the slope by reading the graph. Notice that there are 2 points, 3, -2, and 0, 0. M equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Substituting into the formula gives us m equals -2 minus 0 over 3 minus 0, which simplifies to -2/3. Notice also that the slope is negative and the line moves down as you move from left to right. Let's talk about another way to find the slope from the graph. We're using the same graph we used in the previous slide, but notice how we would find the slope by visual inspection. As we go from A to B, we have to go up 2 points and to the left 3 points. Because we're going up 2, our change in y is 2, and that's our rise, and it's in the numerator. As we go to the left from A to B, we go to the left 3 units. Because the leftward direction is considered the negative direction, we would call that distance -3, and our slope would become 2 over -3, or just -2/3. That method is often much easier than substituting into the slope formula. Example 4 teaches us about the slopes of horizontal lines. All horizontal lines have 0 slope. Given the point 3, -2 and b, -1, -2 on the horizontal line in the graph, we can see that x1 equals 3 and y1 equals -2. Let x2 equal -1 and y2 equal -2. Substituting into the slope formula gives us -2 minus -2 over -1 minus 3, which is 0 over -4, which is 0. Since the y-coordinates of any 2 points on the same horizontal line are the same, they will subtract to 0 when substituting into the slope formula. Hence, the slope will always be 0. Know also that slopes of vertical lines are undefined. Look at the vertical line with points at 3, 2 and 3, -2. Substitute these points into the slope formula. M equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1 is 2 minus -2 over 3 minus 3. That's 4 over 0. Recall that division by 0 is undefined. Hence, the slope is undefined. Since the x-coordinates of any 2 points in any vertical line will always have a difference of 0, the slope will always be undefined. Example 6. Find a missing coordinate. We're given a line with a slope of -1 and told that it passes through the points 2, 3, and 5y. Find the coordinate of y. And arbitrarily, I've let x sub 1 equal 2 and y sub 1 equal 3, x sub 2 equal 5, and y sub 2 equals just y, which is what we're trying to find. And recall that m equals -1. Substitute into the slope formula. Replace m with -1, replace y sub 1 with 3, and we let y sub 2 just remain y. In the denominator, we replace x sub 2 with 5 and x sub 1 with 2. This gives us -1 equals y minus 3 over 3. Clear the fractions by multiplying both sides by 3. When we do that, we have 3 times -1 on the left, which is -3. On the right, the 3 we multiplied by and the denominator cancel, and we're left with y minus 3. Now add 3 to both sides. -3 plus 3 on the left is 0, and on the right we have y. Hence, y equals 0. How to find a missing point when given a slope and one other point. A line with a slope of 2/3 passes through the points -1, -1, and x2. Find x. We substitute into the slope formula. The slope is 2/3. The y-coordinates are 2 and -1, hence it's 2 minus -1 over x minus -1. Simplifying gives 2/3 equals 3 times x plus 1. The arithmetic, or rather the algebra here, is a little more complicated because we're multiplying both sides by 3 times x plus 1. On the left, when we do that, the 3's cancel and we're left with x plus 1 times 2. On the right, the x plus 1's will cancel and we're left with 3 times 3. Distributing gives us 2x plus 2 equals 9. And subtracting 2 from both sides gives us 2x equals 7. Divide by 2 to isolate the x gives us x equals 7/2. Example 8 is a tricky one. The table below shows values of a linear function f. What is the value of c plus d? Notice that you're given values of x and f of x, and we can think of f of x as y. Therefore, we're told enough information to find the slope. Because all of these points lie on the same line, whenever you compute a slope between any two of those points, those slopes will be equal. Therefore, if we compute a slope using 0c and 232, it will be equal to the slope that we compute using 232 and 4d. Setting this up gives 32 minus c over 2 minus 0 equals d minus 32 over 4 minus 2. Simplifying gives 32 minus c equals d minus 32 over 2. We can multiply both sides to clear the denominator. 32 minus c equals d minus 32. Add 32 to both sides. When we do that, on the right we get 64 minus c equals d. Now add c to both sides. This gives us 64 equals c plus d. That is our answer. C plus d equals 64. Notice that even though we don't know what c or d is equal to individually, we do know that the sum of c plus d equals 64. Here are some practice problems for you to try. Pause the DVD after each problem. When you are finished, come back for the answer. Given the points -2, -5, and 3, 7, find the slope. The answer is 12/5. Substituting into the slope formula gives us 7 minus -5 over 3 minus -2. That simplifies to 12 over 5. Practice problem 2. A line has a y-intercept of 4 and passes through the point 1, 6. Find the slope. Recall that if we are given an intercept and we're told that it's 4, we know we have the coordinate 0, 4. Substituting into the slope formula gives us m equals 6 minus 4 over 1 minus 0 equals 2 over 1, which equals 2. Practice problem 3. A line has a slope of -2 and passes through the points 1, 5, and x, 7. Find the value of x. The answer is 0. Substitute into the slope formula. M equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. We replace m with the slope which we're told is -2. That's -2 equals 7 minus 5 over x minus 1, which is 2 over x minus 1. Multiply both sides by x minus 1 to clear the denominator. On the left, we get -2 times x minus 1. On the right, the x minus 1's will cancel, and we're left with 2. Distributing gives us -2x plus 2 equals 2. Subtract 2 from both sides. This gives -2x equals 0. Divide by -2 and get an answer of x equals 0. Practice problem 4. A line passes through the points 5, 2, and 5, -6. Find the slope. What kind of line is this? This is a little bit of a trick question because this line doesn't technically have a slope. The slope is undefined. The line is vertical and its equation is x equals 5. Let's substitute into the slope formula to see what happens. This gives m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. M equals 2 minus -6 over 5 minus 5. This becomes 8 over 0. Because division by 0 is undefined, the slope is undefined. Practice problem 5. A line has a slope of 4/5 and passes through the points 1, 2, and 6y. Find y. The answer is 6. Substituting into the slope formula, we replace m with what the slope is equal to, which is 4/5. 4/5 equals y minus 2 over 6 minus 1. Simplifying gives 4/5 equals y minus 2 over 5. We multiply both sides by 5 to clear the fractions. 4 equals y minus 2. Adding 2 to both sides gives us 6 equals y. Practice problem 6. A line passes through the points 2, 5, and -4, 5. Find the slope. What kind of line is this? This is a horizontal line and the slope is 0. Note that both y coordinates are 5. When you substitute into the slope formula, the numerator becomes 0. Hence the slope equals 0. Lines with 0 slope are horizontal. Find the slope of the line below. The answer to practice problem 7 is that the slope is negative 4/3. 2 points on the line have coordinates 0, 2, and 3, negative 2. Substituting into the slope formula gives us negative 2 minus 2 over 3 minus 0. Negative 2 minus 2 is negative 4 over positive 3, or negative 4/3. Practice problem 8. G is a linear function with some values given below. Find the values of s plus t. Recall that all of the points lie on the same line, therefore any calculations we make of the slope using any 2 points on that line will be equal. We can use the points 1s and 4, 12. This gives us 12 minus s over 4 minus 1. This will be equal to the calculations we use using 4, 12, and 7t. Using those 2 points, we have t minus 12 over 7 minus 4. Simplifying gives us 12 minus s over 3 equals t minus 12 over 3. We multiply both sides by 3 to clear the fraction. This gives us 12 minus s equals t minus 12. Adding 12 and s to both sides gives us 24 equals s plus t.